Jumpstart your motivation to get motivated and stay motivated. Written by Shawn Doyle. Narrated by Rich Germain. Chapter 1. The First Giant Step. We begin each chapter with an inspirational quote. This is from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow from his A Psalm of Life. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait. I would like to thank you for the courageous act of picking up this book. Wanting to learn is the first giant step in getting motivated and staying motivated. Wanting to be motivated is the first step in being motivated. You have taken the first giant step. I congratulate you for that. I wrote this book for you because I want to help you in any way I can. This book is written for you. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not an expert. I am a member of the human race just like you. I don't have all the answers. I have read about and studied human motivation all my life. I have trained thousands of people in the last 15 years in the U.S., Canada, and England. I am fascinated by one aspect of training. I have found that many times the training inspires and motivates people. I find that to be an honor, but also somewhat puzzling. Why do I motivate them? Why does the training motivate them? What had they not heard before they took the class? Why weren't they motivated before? Why are some people less motivated than others? What are the elements that make someone more or less motivated? After the completion of a training session, a man about 55 years old came over to shake my hand. He was visibly moved, with tears in his eyes. He shook my hand and said, "I want to thank you. This session changed me." I asked him why, and he said that he'd been in a rut for a long time, and now he wasn't. He was out of his rut and fully energized. This experience was deeply gratifying for me on a professional and personal level, and yet something bothered me. Several weeks later, it hit me. How was this man going to keep from going back into a rut at some point? I had not given him that. I had only given him a temporary boost. That was the thought that led me to write this book. I believe that through this book, I can give people some specific tools to help them not only get motivated, but stay motivated. In this book, I will provide practical, useful tools and techniques to get motivated and stay motivated, and to help you achieve the goals that will maximize your life, both personally and professionally. I want you to be a person who is fired up. I can give you information, but it is up to you to truly apply it to your life. I can take you to the water, but I can't make you drink. The biggest personal thrill for me would be to have made a small difference in your life. So, get ready to drink. I think that people are a lot like golf balls. Yes, I said golf balls. I would like for you to sit back and think a minute about a little golf ball. Technically, this little white ball is a round object made from a core of rubber, some rubber bands, and a plastic cover. As a young boy, I used to sit in the yard and cut away the cover of a golf ball with a pocket knife to try to uncover the mystery of the golf ball's power. I was disappointed to discover that the ball inside was a mass of bands and nothing more. A golf ball, when hit by me, the non-golfer, will travel maybe 10 yards. But in the hands of an expert golfer, it has the potential to travel an amazing 250 yards. What does a golf ball have to do with human potential and motivation? Everything. I think that, like golf balls, each one of us has unlimited potential. Assuming that you have most of your faculties, we all have pretty much the same biological makeup. We all have brains, hearts, and emotions. All of us are made of, more or less, the same material. We all have the ability to think. So why do some people fly high and others only dribble along? Why do some people succeed while others fail miserably? In my opinion, there is one compelling difference. and that is motivation. Motivation is the key performance differential. It is the fire in the belly of the stove. Before you react in a negative way to the positive mental attitude, pie in the sky, book-selling motivational seminar, audio lesson, backslapping cliche, give this message a chance. Please open your mind for the moment if you want to see a change in your life. Sadly, in this nation, I think that the word motivation has been given a bad name. I suspect that part of the reason is some of the speakers who travel the country doing motivational seminars. I find that most of them have a great message, but the problem with some is that they seem very insincere, and they don't seem like they really mean what they say. Most people have a built-in censor that picks up on a lack of sincerity. The other reason motivation has been given a bad name is that the negative people of the world just cannot stand for others to be positive. It is their goal to drag you down, screaming into the abyss with them. They want to shoot you down. They've been put on earth to drag you down with them. They do not want you to be positive. Try this experiment one day to see how people react. On a Monday, go to work and wait for someone to ask you about your weekend. Look them in the eye and say, "It was great. I read a wonderful book." In fact, you can tell them it was this book. Now watch the reaction. They will probably frown and say something like, "Oh, that guy. He's weird." Or they will say, "Oh, her," and roll their eyes. When given a chance, most people will shoot a positive message down. Why? Because we live in a world where there are negative people breeding, having, and raising negative kids who have more negative kids. The cycle continues. Watch the Jerry Springer Show someday. We now have colonies of negative people on the planet. Negative thinking is like a cancer that spreads rapidly. Just watch the evening news sometime. Then again, of course, I would advise against it. It's a real downer. I want you to think of yourself as a high-performance engine. Food is your biological fuel. But what fuels the rest of you? What keeps you going inside your brain and your heart? Motivation is your mental fuel. And if you want to be the very best, staying motivated will drive your success. Because you are a high-performance engine, you also need to be very careful about what you put into your tank. Your brain is a highly sophisticated mechanism that responds to the stimulus that is provided, whether it is positive or very negative. Many studies have shown that watching a grisly murder scene in a horror movie or in real life is no different to your subconscious mind. So you must be very careful as to how you are fueling your high-performance engine. It will only perform to the quality of the level of the fuel that is provided. In this book, I will share with you the 10 foundations of motivation. They are simple and easy to read, but will take work and energy to put them into practice. None of them are rocket science. Here are the foundations that will be covered in each chapter. Foundation 1. Have a purpose for what you do. Kenneth Hildebrand said, "Strong lives are motivated by dynamic purposes." Do you know your purpose? I'm sure at this point you are saying, "Well, that's easy. I go to work because I get paid, and my purpose is to get paid." Well, in my opinion, that is a reason, not a purpose. I would venture to say that most people don't have a purpose and have no idea why they are doing what they are doing. I want you to start thinking about your life and career and define your true purpose. This is your life, after all, and you don't just want to go through the motions. Another way to evaluate your purpose is to consider questions such as, why are you where you are? And what are you truly meant to do? Having a true purpose and knowing what it is will be the rocket fuel to get motivated and help you stay motivated. Foundation number 2, have a passion for what you do. Have you ever met someone who is passionate about what they do? Is Tiger Woods passionate about golf? Is Richard Simmons passionate about exercise? Was Mother Teresa passionate about helping others? Is Bruce Springsteen passionate about music. I think Sheila Graham said it best. You can have anything you want if you want it desperately enough. You must want it with an inner exuberance that erupts through the skin and joins the energy created by the world. If you aren't passionate about anything, in my opinion, it is because either you haven't found your passion or you have had a passion that you gave up on many years ago. If that is the case, I think this is just plain sad. I've known many people in the past who have told me stories about their one passion and how they gave it up due to circumstances in their life. Unfortunately, there are many people walking this planet who do not have any passion about what they do. They live lives that are very mundane and boring. They have given up on their dreams, or as Henry David Thoreau said, they are living lives of quiet desperation. I believe that passion is the energy that drives excellence and superior results. Foundation number 3, be a continuous, nonstop learning machine. To quote Bob Perlman, learning is what most adults will do for a living in the 21st century. Many people graduate from high school and college and they seem to say, okay, I'm done. Wrong. They feel like they are finished and they stop reading, stop studying, and in essence, they stop growing. I know many people who haven't read a book since school. Every year, you must be willing to reinvent yourself. Because the shelf life of knowledge is so short in our society, the knowledge you graduate with doesn't last very long. Reading and continuous learning will separate you from most of the rest of society. You will perform better and grow in your professional and personal life, and that is very motivating. Foundation number 4, be a mentor and have a mentor. Mentoring is a classic case of two heads being better than one. In the words of George Bernard Shaw, the only service a friend can render is to keep up your courage by holding up to you a mirror in which you can see a noble image of yourself. When you have a mentor, it is very motivating because they are motivated by helping you get to the next level. They help you see the world through different glasses. When you are a mentor, you learn more about yourself, and it can be very motivating to see your protege succeed. Foundation number 5, know what gets you motivated and stimulated. Reggie Leach once said, "Success is not the result of spontaneous combustion. You must set yourself on fire." In other words, you really must know what it is that gets you pumped and fired up. I have movies, inspirational books, and certain music or activities that help me stay fired up. You need to experiment and know what gets you in the state of high motivation. Once you have identified these tools, use them when you have a bad day to provide the motivational kick that you need. Foundation number 6, reward yourself for achieving. Nikita Khrushchev said, "Call it what you will, incentives are what get people to work harder." When you set goals and you achieve them, it is absolutely essential to reward yourself for the hard work you put into those goals. One of the keys to motivation is seeing tangible results for your efforts. If you are working really hard and doing what you should be doing, at some point you will tire of doing it, especially if you don't feel like you're making any progress, or you feel like you aren't getting a reward from your efforts. It is important to learn how to create self-incentives to help drive your motivation. Foundation 7, practice long-term thinking. Most people who are very successful have long-term goals and plans, and therefore practice long-term thinking. Most successful people can very clearly articulate those plans and act with an eye toward the long term. One CEO in Japan, Masayoshi Son, not only has a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, but a 300-year plan. Practicing long-term thinking will keep you motivated because you will know that all your actions are in line with where you are headed. You will look at all of the decisions that you've got to make, and you will decide the answers based on the long term. Foundation number 8, keep growing and achieving. Emile Coué said, "Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better." In order to get motivated and stay motivated, you must keep growing and achieving. I know that sounds like an audacious statement, but it's true. The reason that most people get into motivational ruts is that they become stagnant. I have never known anyone who found stagnation to be a positive state. At the pace that our society is changing, if you aren't growing and achieving, you aren't staying the same, you are going backward, and the rest of the world is passing you by. Growing equals progress equals motivation. This is one of the formulas for staying motivated. Foundation number 9, periodically evaluate where you are. Ashley Brilliant stated, "Maybe I'm lucky to be going so slowly, because I may be going in the wrong direction." If you were sailing across the Atlantic in a sailboat, you would need to constantly check to see if you were still on course. As you go through life, you need to keep checking your course in personal and professional pursuits. If you feel like you're on course, meeting or exceeding where you want to be, it can be a boost to your motivation. If you are off course and you make some corrections, it will motivate you as well, because you have done something about it. And finally, we'll look at foundation number 10, live a life of balance. As the old saying goes, all work and no play make Jack or Jill a dull boy or girl. The modern equivalent of that adage today is not only dullness, but also burnout. Working all the time, nonstop, seems to be a badge of honor for some people, but it can lead to disaster. It also can lead to a loss of motivation, where the person finally crashes and says, "Why am I doing this?" In order to be motivated and stay motivated, it is essential to try to live a life of balance, with a realization that sometimes it won't always be balanced. As a human being, you need to spend time on the social, spiritual, physical, and financial aspects of life, as well as the career areas. Being in balance allows you to live a life that is richer. It keeps you in a more motivated state of mind. In each chapter, we will be taking a look at each of these topics in more depth and looking at each of the 10 foundations. As you go through this book, I would encourage you to keep the following ideas in mind. Apply it to your life. As you read this book, try to review the material and ask yourself, how can I apply this to my own life? What does this section really mean to me? Then, give some thought on how you can apply it. Take notes or highlight some of the areas. As you listen to this material, you can take notes that stand out to you, that get your attention, or you want to remember. Whatever you do, write it down. When you reach the end of each chapter, go back and review those points. Compare. As you read through it, ask yourself how this compares with what you already know or have already read. Then think about it and compare and contrast. Make notes accordingly. Study. Decide this time not to just read or listen to this book. This is about your life, so study it. If you get distracted and miss a point, go back. Make sure you get it. Then interact. Try to think of this as more of an interactive seminar rather than a book. In each chapter, there will be a segment called Work It, and I will be asking you to work through exercises. You can skip them if you want, but remember, this is about getting motivated and staying motivated. So do the exercises, and don't skip. The choice is yours, but you will get more out of it by doing the exercises. You can discuss the things you learn. Sit down with a positive, intelligent friend or mentor. Ask to discuss the content with them and get their feedback and advice. Be careful not to pick your favorite pessimist. They may give you feedback that can interfere with your motivation. By all means, challenge yourself by saying, I'm going to read or listen to this book and I'm going to apply every word. I'm going to do every exercise and give it 100%. Then see what happens. I am sure that your life will change as a result of your efforts. These are the 10 foundations that are outlined in this book, and I would like you to keep in mind a great quote from author Jack London. Listen, I would rather be ashes than dust. I would rather my spark should burn out in a brilliant blaze than it should be stifled by dry rot. I would rather be a superb meteor, every atom of me in magnificent glow, than a sleepy and permanent planet. The function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. I could have never said it better than that.